Hello people of the free world. Welcome to my new series, One Season Wonder, where we look at shows canceled after just one season, see what went wrong, how the problems could have been resolved, and if they deserve a second chance. If you recommend any series for this series, just leave it in the comments below. This is our first episode, and our subject today is Praise Petey. It's an animated sitcom about a young woman inheriting a cult after her father's death. It's not the most bizarre premise I've heard of, but it should work well enough for an animated comedy. Sadly, it failed. Before anything, let's start with the comedy. I have to say I'm not always the best judge of comedy because I don't find a lot of things funny. But firstly, if you were to get rid of all the dialogue that's just Peter, the main character, explaining whatever joke was said or done, you could cut about 3 minutes from each episode.
You just wake up at 5 a.m., watch 9 people slowly get their makeup done. You bankrupt yourself going to Nashville or New Orleans until you hate the bride.
The comedy is also weak because despite the fact that the show starts in New York, the weirdness begins before she sets foot in the cult town her father made. It's a good way to show how cult-like modern society is, and I think it's fine enough commentary, but they take it too far with the Godzilla reference, Petey's fiance being a plank of wood, and even her being fired because she called herself stupid. This makes the switch and the later references or the merging of the two worlds really boring because there's almost nothing at all to contrast. I have to say though, the characters are okay, they don't really offend me. I like Petey enough, she kinda lacks direction sometimes, especially as a main character, but aside from that, she's fun to follow. And her blatant stupidity made me smile a few times. May, her right hand, and her dead father's right hand is cool sometimes. I do like her role as both an antagonist and a supporter of Petey in general. It's just that she's often too weird and boring. If they're not busy making her a cunning backstabber, just have her as a socially awkward weirdo. She acts the same kind of weird a mom who's trying to connect to her young son's friends would. It's important for her character because it shows why exactly she joined the cult and why she's so focused on maintaining the cult, but again, it makes her really boring and annoying. But you know who I really like? I really like Bandit and Liza. Bandit is a really good character because unlike everyone else, he has a really solid motivation. He wants to decultify the town because he grew up in the cult and later abandoned it. His romance with Petey, which is a parody of every conflict-based romance, something I might add they can't help but have him say every 20 seconds.
I know you say you hate me, but do you maybe opposite hate me?
Isn't that interesting or fun? I appreciate the attempt at satire. He doesn't have an insane amount of depth, and because this is a comedy, I'm not expecting him to, but compared to everyone else, he almost always has a reason for doing whatever storyline they give him each episode. Eliza is honestly just cool. She's often just reacting or forced into whatever problem Petey had, or whatever goal she's trying to accomplish, but she gets her own stories in like the last 2 or 3 episodes in the series.
If you make a mistake, it's still good.
She's just a calm and collected person who you can appreciate as a person who you would actually be willing to spend time with in real life. Her storylines also make sense and have purpose for her character. Now let's talk about the story. As a comedy, the story usually wouldn't matter, but because it has a linear story where things from episode to episode matter, the story is something that at least deserves a little bit of attention. Petey in the first episode claims she wants to de-weirdify the cult, but her actions aren't usually guided by this as a priority. I said Petey lacks direction, so let's get more in depth with that. The series was only 10 episodes long, so let me say the synopses for you aside from the first episode. Let's see if you think that these are plots based around de-weirdifying the cult. Episode 2, Petey tries to give the cultists personal agency and freedom. Episode 3, Petey attempts to get money for medicine without recruiting new members into the cult. Episode 4, Petey attempts to revive the cult's magazine. Episode 5, Petey and Eliza attempt to make money by renting out barns as a wedding venue. Episode 6, Petey attempts to have a good birthday despite her mother stealing the day by having a concert for the cult members. Episode 7, Petey attempts to end an ice cream exclusivity deal in the town. Episode 8, Petey climbs a mountain to find spiritual enlightenment to be a better cult leader. Episode 9, Petey attempts to end the gossip about her going around town. Episode 10, Petey plans to directly combat the cult's beliefs, but worries what she'll be without the cult. You see the problem? Almost every instance of her directly confronting issues within the cult are not the result of her seeking out issues, but instead her indirectly coming across issues. Like her being found with selling a temple instead of recruiting people, or her unknowingly getting rid of the funding provided by the ice cream exclusivity deal that was being put towards cryogenics. A lot of protagonists just react to scenarios, and that isn't the issue. My main problem is that I can't find a real motivation for her a lot of the time. She often doesn't actively find solutions, she just stumbles upon them. I also have a large problem with some of the solutions that she stumbles upon. Despite its comedy focus, the show does acknowledge how bad the cult is, whether it be convincing joining members to forfeit all their money, murder, or just how evil the idea of a cult based on false beliefs is. But on some episodes, they take the easy way out and just let the cult be a cult. This is often shown as something that makes Petey or other characters feel conflicted, but it still happens and is still treated as the best option. For example, in episode 2, Petey tries to fire the cult to let them be free, but at the end of the episode, she hires them back because they all felt aimless without her. And in episode 8, Petey lies about what's at the top of the mountain so they don't lose hope. And in the other series, lessons like this could possibly work whether you agree with them or not, but the lessons go against the main point of the show, which is de-weirdifying or decultifying the cult. Now, my last problem actually has to do with the season finale of the show, because it honestly ruins the whole show in my opinion. So if you want to watch the show, take a break, watch it, and come back tomorrow, because this is going to involve major spoilers. So basically, Petey wants to go receive an award in New York City, but can't because of cult duties, involving a very important comet, which is the comet the cult is based around. She instead plans to announce the comet early so she can finally break the truth to the cult members and tell them her father was a liar, and thereafter, with the help of bandits, she plans to begin to deprogram the cult members. But after realizing this means that she'll, in her eyes, have nothing, she instead uses it as a chance to convince her cult members that she is the comet and make them more loyal to her than ever.
Welcome to New Utopia. I am the comet.
In all honesty, this is the best episode of the series, up until the ending of the episode. After Petey makes her speech, a comet actually comes down and picks up a cult member, taking them who knows where. It was actually pretty funny because the reactions of Bandit, Eliza, and Petey were pretty good, but in hindsight, it ruins the whole show. You see, this is the kind of gag used for shows where the cult isn't the main focus. With the inclusion of this scene, you have made almost every other decision in this show worthless, because even if Petey's dad was right by sheer luck, he was still right. This ruins everything about the main character and her supporting cast. You see, Bandit left the cult for no reason. Eliza's feelings about the cult being a lie and her journey toward leaving it mean nothing, and Petey purposefully lying to the cult and making them more loyal to her is kind of just a nothing burger now. I would say that at the very least, this could be a good cliffhanger for the planned next season, but it wasn't the cliffhanger planned for the next season. The cliffhanger for the finale involved a reporter who shot out Petey for the award we talked about earlier. The episode ends with the reporter releasing a podcast about all the crazy stuff the cult has done, like the sacrifices and their insane beliefs. I don't think that this would even go anywhere though. A few other cliffhangers and twists in the show, but they aren't used too well. We find out Eliza was actually one of Petey's dad's many wives, but Petey doesn't really care. It was nice seeing that Eliza's fears about this ruining their relationship was unfounded, but it really could have been ignored. Another example is that Petey's mom was trying to hide her connection to the city where the cult is. Not because of her connection to the cult or because she helped make the cult like I was hoping, but simply because she doesn't want people to know that she's from a small town. This reporter podcast cliffhanger will likely have a disappointing conclusion because of the show's track record of dealing with cliffhangers. Now to answer the most important question. Do I think Praise Petey deserved a second season? Drum roll please. My answer is no. The show fails at its comedy, its storyline, and its message. I do have some suggestions on how to fix it. Comedy is subjective, so it's kind of hard to determine how to fix it. Something I know is a problem is that the jokes really drag. Like I said before, a large amount of the jokes are just them explaining the joke they're making or the situation they're in. I believe it's an attempt at meta humor because it makes fun of tropes in TV shows, but it's not really making fun of them in my opinion, or at least not enough. It's really just pointing them out and then letting them take course. A good way of changing this could just be having Petey be a lot less knowledgeable than she is. Instead of letting her be right about a trope, let her assume a trope is taking place and then break the trope. This would also make her a bit more interesting, because instead of the world and writing being based on tropes, Petey simply believes the world is based on tropes, and her having main character syndrome would actually be a part of her character. For the storylines and characters, I actually think that they all have a solid base. The fact that May, Bandit, and Eliza represent 3 stages of cult life is actually really good for a supporting cast. I'd say maybe just make May more normal, even if it's in a boring way. She's boring in a weird way, which just makes her storylines and screen time, which isn't focused on her cult work, really annoying to watch. Bandit and Eliza, in my opinion, are perfect for the most part, or at least perfect for this show's standards. My main problem with Petey is that I feel like she's not doing anything of importance. At first, I thought that maybe I just had issues with the fact that maybe she had no real focus, but I think it's the fact that nothing she does really matters. She might stumble upon success, get new ice cream for the town, or even accidentally make the cult less culty, but she doesn't actually work toward and succeed at goals or work toward and fail at goals. It often feels like things happen not truly because of any of her choices, but by complete coincidence. If I were to bring back the show, I'd probably only do 2 or 3 more seasons at most. Whether or not the writers actually commit to a storyline regarding the cult or Petey, there really isn't much they could do to prevent the cult premise from being boring. It's in that weird place where it's not basic enough to start adding random things to without making it feel awkward or weird, but it's also not vast enough to pull from a wide range of media and ideas naturally. Thank you for stopping by and enjoying the first episode of One Season Wonder. If you liked the video, like the video. If you have strong opinions, put it in the comments. And if you want to tune in for the next episode, please subscribe.